Kamala went down under to Australia. She brought Dougie not so fresh. It was a romantic weekend getaway. Walks by the water, in the park. Doug leaned in. Never lean in, Dougie. How many times do we have to say it? So what was Kamala doing halfway across the world? Well, she was a surprise guest at a real estate conference. You're probably asking, what does Kamala know about real estate? No idea. The real estate agents at the conference said Kamala lost focus. It was so bad the conference didn't even post a video of her interview, even though they posted everybody else's. What were they trying to hide? Well, we found out. We got our hands on the tape, and she hasn't changed.
I have a lived experience that has taught me something I talk about all the time, which is my lived experience that tells me that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And I consider it a blessing and a privilege to have that lived experience in a way that it gives me a true sense of understanding of what is possible when we think of building communities.
Kamala Harris sounds like she's doing an impression of Kamala Harris. And she's still unburdened.
Who fight for freedom. They see what can be, and they're unburdened by what has been. They believe in what is possible. And so even though it may be characterized as a fight, it really is, it should, I think, be thought of in the context of a fight for something, as opposed to against something.
Kamala hasn't learned a thing, but she swears Barack Obama taught her history. And now she calls herself a student of history.
I think one of the very special aspects of who he is he really is a student of history. And it's critically important because coupled with the enthusiasm that comes with ambition and optimism must be the clear-eyed focus of understanding where we've been. And being a student of history is, I think, one of the best ways to then contextualize the importance and the relevance of what we are doing today.
Remember when Kamala was really into space? Now she's into history. And like most Democrats, she only knows about World War II. So she flew all the way to Australia to teach them about Hitler.
It's important we remember the 1930s. It's important that we remember that history has taught us that isolation does not equal insulation. It is important that we understand and remember history, which taught us the interdependence and interconnection between nations, the importance of friendships, integrity, honesty. There's so much about foreign affairs that is just like the importance of having good friendships.
What's Kamala doing? Well, she says she's unemployed, but she's looking for a job. Australia regrettably regretted the invitation. The audience didn't think she was super engaging. Democrats here at home say, don't call her boring. She likes memes.
Kamala Harris, for whatever you say about her, did connect with people culturally. There was the Brett Summer. There were all these people putting up the coconut memes.
Behind the scenes, everyone knew the Harris campaign was a lemon. One donor told an Obama guy who joined the campaign, it'll be political suicide. You're going to be a loser. Another told another Obama guy after Harris lost, you're just an old, broken down boy. Remember, Barry had his guys run her campaign. It backfired, and he's getting the blame. One DNC insider says the old Obama playbook no longer works. Another Democrat says Barry has blood on his hands. I'm sorry, I don't want a surgeon who keeps killing the patients. The Obamas are dodging bullets, just like it's the South Side of Chicago. First, Barack called black men sexist for not voting for Harris. Now Michelle's blaming the women.
There are a lot of men who have, they have big chairs at their tables. You know, there are a lot of women who vote the way their man is going to vote. It happened in this election.
Michelle thinks women only voted for Trump because their husbands did. Is she saying women just do what they're told? Because Barack can't tell her what to do. If he could, she wouldn't be doing a podcast. Another former Obama guy, Rahm, is saying the whole party is just too weak and woke. Democrats are clawing his eyes out, too.
Is Rahm Emanuel right here? Has your party become too woke, too non-masculine, and not talking with people about the things that matter?
No, he's dead wrong. Look, this is the party of FDR. We did originally make in America. We industrialized the entire country. It's the party that has guaranteed Americans Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid.
The Obama people are just getting shellacked. And now everybody's out for Hakeem. Unnamed Democrats say his mild-mannered personality is too meek, and his messaging is disorganized, chaotic, and aimless. Democrats say Hakeem's not a general, and we're in for the fight of our lives. The party misses Nancy, and Hakeem's a little emotional. Insiders in his office say he's extremely sensitive to criticism, particularly comparisons to Pelosi. Men should never let women drive them nuts. I never let Jessica get under my skin, ever. Hakeem's hungry for revenge. His people want a no-holds-barred fight with anyone on Nancy's team that trash-talked him. Quote, if I were downtown, I'd think twice about bringing someone willing to knife the leader for their own gain into my orbit. It's a royal rumble. Even the media is rolling up its sleeves. Stephen A., he wants to tangle with Jake over Biden-gate.
I want to know personally what role Jake Tapper played in not reporting on certain information. We saw it. How did Jake Tapper not see it? And as he continues to speak about all of this, where's his mea culpa? Because I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Tapper doesn't want the heat. He's trying to get ahead of it by saying he's transitioning.
I went on a left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless, and they asked me about my son, and I said he was, he's a football player, and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son, oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you are losing elections.
First of all, why is Jake in the comment section? Second, why is he shocked liberals are shaming cops? CNN pushed the racist cops hoax for years. Defund the police. Hands up, don't shoot. It's great his kid wants to be a cop, but Jake's not going to make the streets easy. Tapper's pretty much saying Fox was right about everything. Every Democrat's saying it. Mayor Pete is hitting the podcast scene. As the Babylon Bee puts it, Dems unveil plan to win back men by having gay guy grow a beard. And now he sounds like Jesse Watters Primetime. Listen.
What do you think y'all should have done differently?
One, for the love of God, figure out a way to get the schools open sooner. Obviously, pay more attention to the border. That's real, and that's going to be something that you can't just take your time to deal with. Three, even though you spent your entire political lifetime believing that the economy and jobs are the same thing, remember that prices is just as big a part of the economy. It just hasn't come up much in the last 40 years, right?
Pete just admitted we were right about COVID, the border, and inflation after he admitted we were right about Biden's brain. So if we were right about everything, why is he still a Democrat? He's saying Democrats were wrong about everything, but what, they're going to get it right next time? You actually think if Democrats win back the White House, they're going to keep the border closed and not spend trillions of dollars and not do the whole windmill thing? If a perp with 16 felony convictions is in front of a judge saying, Your Honor, if I make bail, I swear I'll keep my nose clean this time. No bail. Here's how I know they haven't learned a thing. They just confessed to the crime of the century, having a brain-dead president who didn't sign executive orders and a shadow government. And their new idea, they want to put together a shadow cabinet. Yeah. Like a cabinet of unelected Democrats who can run things, like kind of like what we just had. Giselle Fetterman for shadow DHS secretary. Tish James for shadow AG. Jon Stewart for shadow VA secretary. Bill Nye the science guy for shadow EPA. And Mark Cuban, shadow commerce. Kamala was a little upset she wasn't named shadow president, but she didn't qualify. She just doesn't have the lived experience. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.